SpiritFlow presents How to Deal with Difficult People. This is a compelling new book written by Vasco Vieira, and it is narrated for you by the author himself, Vasco Vieira, today.
Introduction: How to Deal with Difficult People and Keep Your Peace. We live in an era where everything seems faster, more intense, more immediate. Human relationships have also changed. They have often become superficial, impatient, and impersonal, and inevitably more and more difficult people appear on our path. But who, after all, are these difficult people? They are those who criticize without building, who manipulate in silence, who devalue your feelings, who impose their will even if it wears you down, who live trapped in toxic patterns and project that onto others. And the truth is that at some point in life, we will all have to deal with them. It doesn't matter if you are a calm, empathetic, spiritual, or rational person. Sooner or later, you will be tested. The big secret is not in avoiding them, because that most of the time is not possible. The secret lies in knowing how to position yourself without losing yourself, how to respond without reacting, and how to protect your energy without closing yourself off to the world. Over the years, I understood something that changed my life. Inner peace does not depend on how others act, but on how I choose to react. And it was this understanding that led me to write this book. Here you will not find abstract theories or magical promises. What you will find is something much more powerful: awareness, strategy, inner strength. The goal is not for you to become cold or indifferent. The goal is for you to become as solid as a rock even when the world around you seems stormy. That you learn to see beyond the mask of difficult people. That you develop compassion but also firm boundaries. That you know how to protect your space without guilt or aggression. This book was designed for you to finally be the master of your own peace. Throughout the chapters, we will explore who difficult people really are and why they act this way. How to distinguish between different types of toxicity. Practical strategies for dealing with manipulators, critics, narcissists, chronic victims, and emotionally unstable people. Techniques to communicate with clarity and authority without getting into unnecessary confrontation. Methods to protect your energy in any environment, even the most challenging one. Exercises to strengthen your self-esteem and your inner center. And perhaps most importantly, how to cultivate a life so aligned and conscious that difficult people naturally lose their power over you. This is not just a book about others. It is, above all, a book about you, about your choice to live in peace, about your decision not to let others' behaviors define your happiness, about your silent, unshakable, and full power. The world out there won't change because of you, but the world inside you can transform everything around you. From the moment you begin this journey, you are already changing your story. Don't wait for others anymore. Don't sacrifice yourself anymore to maintain unbalanced relationships. Don't blame yourself anymore for the emotions of others. Choose yourself. Protect yourself. Respect yourself. Your peace is sacred and it starts now. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and come with me on this journey back to yourself. 1. Understanding the world of difficult people. Chapter 1. Who are difficult people? We live in a world where human relationships are inevitable, whether they are family, professional, or social. In all these spheres, sooner or later, we cross paths with people who seem to make everything heavier, more confusing, and, at times, deeply draining. They are those people who test our limits, drain our energy, and make us doubt even ourselves. But after all, who are these difficult people? A difficult person is not just someone with whom you have an occasional disagreement. It is not simply a person who disagrees with you or who has a strong opinion. A difficult person is someone whose constant presence generates emotional discomfort, subtle or blatant manipulation, emotional instability, or psychological exhaustion. They are masters at creating confusion, guilt, and frustration. It is important to understand that not all difficult people are bad. Often, they themselves are the result of deep wounds, old traumas, or dysfunctional behavioral patterns that they have never been able to heal. However, the fact that their pain originates from suffering does not diminish the impact it has on your life, nor does it mean you have to passively accept that effect. There are several signs that can help you recognize a difficult person. Constant drama. Small problems turn into big storms. Destructive criticism. They are always pointing out flaws, minimizing achievements, and maximizing mistakes. Lack of empathy. They are incapable of recognizing or validating the feelings of others. Manipulative behavior. They use guilt, fear, or victimization to control. Constant need for attention. Everything revolves around them, with no room for your needs. It is crucial to realize that identifying a difficult person is not about judging them, but about protecting your peace. When you understand the patterns of behavior, you stop internalizing what isn't yours and start acting with awareness and assertiveness. We cannot change others, but we can change the way we relate to them. And that is precisely what you are going to start doing from this book. In the coming chapters, you will delve even deeper into this universe, understand the roots of toxicity, the silent impacts you suffer often without realizing it, and above all, how to regain control of your life with clarity, strength, and freedom. This is the first step to becoming unshakable. Chapter 2. Why do people become toxic? When we deal with difficult people, it is natural to ask questions like, why are they like this? Do they do it on purpose? Do they take pleasure in hurting others? These questions are legitimate, but before we answer them, it is essential to understand a profound truth. No one becomes toxic without a history. Toxicity is always the result of a process, an invisible, silent, and often painful process. 1. Childhood wounds. Most of the destructive patterns we see in adults have roots in childhood. A child who grew up in an environment of emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment, or constant criticism learns early on that to survive, they need to develop defenses. These defenses, which initially serve as protection, can over time turn into toxic behaviors. A child who is overly criticized may grow up criticizing others to feel superior. A child who was ignored may become an adult who demands constant attention, sometimes in a manipulative way. A child who had to walk on eggshells to avoid triggering emotional outbursts at home may grow up using control and manipulation to feel safe. What starts as a defense mechanism turns into a survival pattern. 2. Unhealed trauma. Trauma is an invisible yet powerful wound. When a person goes through experiences of loss, violence, betrayal, or humiliation and lacks the space or tools to heal those wounds, they carry those scars into adulthood. Many difficult behaviors are unconscious attempts to avoid old pain. Manipulating to avoid being abandoned, controlling to avoid being hurt, lashing out to avoid being vulnerable. Deep down, toxic behavior is often a mask for a deep fear, the fear of being hurt again. 3. Dysfunctional relationship models. No one is born knowing how to relate to others. We learn from the references we have: family, school, society. If a person grew up in an environment where communication was done through shouting, silence, or guilt, it is likely that they will repeat these patterns without even realizing it. Not because they want to cause harm, but because it is the only model they know. Without awareness, we repeat. With awareness, we can choose differently. 4. Insecurity and fragmented self-esteem. Behind many difficult people lies a deep insecurity. When someone does not believe in their own worth, they look for distorted ways to feel above others by humiliating, manipulating, or devaluing them. The constant critic feels small on the inside. The narcissist lives in constant fear of being exposed as not good enough. The manipulator fears being rejected if they don't control the narrative. As paradoxical as it may seem, the person who tries to diminish you does so to try to feel bigger. 5. Fear of vulnerability. Showing genuine emotions, sadness, fear, love, fragility requires courage. For many difficult people, being vulnerable is seen as weakness. They often learned from a very early age that showing feelings is dangerous, was punished, ridiculed, or ignored. The result? They build emotional barriers, attack before being attacked, and keep their distance so they don't run the risk of suffering. What seems like coldness, aggression, or insensitivity is often just masked fear. 6. Limiting and cultural beliefs. We live in a world that, in many contexts, values power, competition, appearance, and the ego. Many people internalize beliefs like, if I'm not strong, I'll be destroyed. Showing feelings is for the weak. Life is a fight. Trust no one. These beliefs, absorbed unconsciously, shape behaviors, often in a toxic way. Without deconstructing these ideas, people repeat self-destructive patterns and spread this energy in their relationships. Conclusion of the chapter: difficult people are not born that way. They are the product of wounds that were not seen, of pains that were not healed, of patterns that were not broken. This does not justify their behavior. But understanding these roots gives you a huge advantage. It allows you to realize that it is not about you. It gives you emotional distance. It gives you back the power to act with awareness and not with reaction. When you understand that toxicity is a story of unresolved pain, you free yourself from the guilt of trying to fix others. Your mission is not to heal anyone. It is to protect your peace. In the next chapters, you will dive into the invisible emotional impact that these people cause and how you can start to recover your strength without guilt, fear, or resentment. This is your path back to inner freedom, and every step you take is a victory over the old energy that no longer serves your future. Chapter 3: The Emotional Impact. How it affects you, even without you realizing it. You might even be a strong, conscious, positive person, but constant interaction with difficult people leaves marks, even if you don't realize it right away. These marks are not always visible. Often they manifest in a subtle, silent, but deeply draining way. Today we are going to open our eyes to these invisible impacts, because only by recognizing the wound can you begin to heal it. 1. Continuous emotional exhaustion. Living surrounded by emotional tension consumes vital energy. Even when there are no open arguments, the simple fact of being on constant alert. Will today go well? Will they criticize me again? Puts your nervous system in a state of permanent stress. Your mind is always anticipating problems. Your body remains in a state of defense. Your heart gets tired of waiting for the next attack. This emotional exhaustion can turn into irritability, discouragement, a feeling of exhaustion even without physical effort. Summary: you are spending energy surviving instead of living. 2. Self-doubt. Toxic people have a subtle or blatant ability to make you doubt yourself. Am I overreacting? Am I really too sensitive? Is it my fault? This phenomenon is called emotional gaslighting. It is a process in which you slowly start to distrust your own feelings, perceptions, and even your reality. You lose confidence in yourself. You start apologizing when you shouldn't even have to. You accept unfair criticism as if it were absolute truth. Summary: you are losing your center and you don't even realize it. 3. The blocking of emotional expression. To survive in a difficult relationship, many people learn to silence what they feel. It's not worth speaking up. If I say what I think, it will get worse. It's better to pretend that everything is fine. Over time, this silence becomes an internal poison. You accumulate sadness, swallow anger, repress hurts. And when emotions are not expressed in a healthy way, the body and mind end up paying the price. Unexplained pains, anxiety, insomnia, a feeling of permanent heaviness. Summary: by protecting the relationship, you end up hurting yourself. 4. The normalization of the unacceptable. When you live with toxic behaviors for a long time, a dangerous phenomenon happens. What is unacceptable starts to seem normal. You accept shouting as that's just how he or she is. You accept disrespect as that's just their temperament. You accept manipulation as it's for my own good. Your reference for normality becomes distorted. You start lowering your standard of tolerance and, without realizing it, you accept emotional crumbs as if they were banquets. Summary: you forget what you deserve. 5. The erosion of self-esteem. Every criticism, every devaluation, every manipulation game erodes your view of yourself. And the truth is simple: no one comes out of toxic relationships intact without doing inner work. You start to doubt your worth. You question your abilities. You feel small in a world where you are meant to be great. When your self-esteem is wounded, everything in your life suffers. Your dreams, your relationships, your ability to create the life you desire. Summary: you are living below your potential because someone made you believe you deserve less. Conclusion of the chapter. The emotional wounds caused by difficult people are not evident at first glance. They settle in gradually, silent but devastating. This chapter is an invitation to look at yourself with honesty and courage. Where have you been keeping quiet to avoid conflict? Where have you been doubting yourself due to the influence of others? Where have you been tolerating what hurts you? It is not too late to rise again. It is not too late to reclaim your peace, your worth, your strength. Recognizing the impact is the first step to getting out of the invisible web. In the coming chapters, you will learn how to identify the different types of difficult people and, more importantly, how to protect yourself intelligently without losing your essence. Your path to inner freedom has already begun, and each chapter is a firmer step in your personal reconquest. 2. Types of difficult people. Chapter 4. The manipulator, the invisible game. They don't always shout, they don't always threaten, they aren't always obvious, but they are there distorting, inverting, making you feel guilty for things you didn't do. We are talking about the manipulator, the master of the invisible psychological game. They can be charming at first sight, they can use sweet words. They might even seem concerned about you, but behind the curtain there is a subtle control that undermines your freedom and inner peace. Today we are going to lift the veil. We are going to understand who the manipulator is, how they act, and how to protect yourself from them with intelligence and firmness. 1. How to recognize a manipulator. The manipulator does not act openly. They pull the puppet strings and make you dance without you realizing it. Their classic behaviors include disguised guilt. After everything I've done for you, is this how you treat me? Role reversal. You are hurt, but they play the victim. Constant denial. I never said that, even though you know they did. Conditional praise. They only value you when you do what they want. Emotional pressure. If you really love me, you will do this for me. The manipulator uses emotions against you. Love, pity, fear, obligation. And the most dangerous part is that often they themselves are not aware of what they are doing. It is their automatic mode of operating. 2. Why does manipulation work? Because it touches on your weak points, your desire to please, your fear of rejection, your desire to be accepted, your tendency to avoid conflict. Manipulation is effective because it comes camouflaged as care, as concern, as I'm just being honest with you. And when you realize it, you are already doubting your own perception. You are already doing things you don't want to, just to avoid a conflict or to keep the peace. 3. The emotional effect of manipulation. Being under continuous manipulation wears you down in an almost invisible way. You feel like you never do enough. You always put others' desires ahead of your own. You go over things 1,000 times in your head to avoid hurting someone, even when you are the one who is hurt. You start living in fear of displeasing others. You lose touch with your personal boundaries. Over time, this can generate anxiety, constant guilt, low self-esteem, and a deep emotional void. Summary: you are being programmed to live for others and forget about yourself. 4. How to deal with a manipulator without losing your peace. This is where your inner strength comes in, because yes, it is possible to deal with manipulators without shouting, without running away, without ceasing to be who you are. Follow these keys. A. Reinforce your boundaries. Manipulators test boundaries, so your no's must be clear, firm, and repeated if necessary. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not going to do that. I respect your point of view, but this decision is mine. B. Don't over-justify yourself. The more you explain, the more material you give for manipulation. C. Be direct, simple, confident. That doesn't work for me. I'd rather not get into that conversation right now. C. Observe the patterns, not the words. Manipulators say what you want to hear, but their behavior contradicts it. Don't let yourself be fooled by pretty promises. Look at their actions. D. Regain internal control. Remember, you are not responsible for the other person's happiness or emotional balance. Your priority is your integrity, your peace, your well-being. 5. What if the manipulator is someone very close? Here, the pain can be greater. It could be a father, a mother, a partner, a child, a longtime friend. In these cases, it is even more important to practice healthy boundaries, emotional distancing, and energetic protection. You don't have to cut ties, but you can redefine the space that person occupies in your life. Not out of revenge, but out of self-love. Conclusion of the chapter. Manipulators operate in the shadows, and when you turn on the light of awareness, the game loses its power. You are not here to live as anyone's puppet. You are here to live with soul, with truth, with freedom. Learn to recognize the patterns. Learn to trust your feelings. And remember, whoever manipulates you does not respect you, and whoever does not respect you cannot have access to your heart. Chapter 5. The Constant Critic. It is never enough. There are people who seem to have a personal mission to point out everything that is wrong with you. They never praise, they never acknowledge, they only criticize. And the strangest thing is, sometimes they are people close to you, family, colleagues, partners, who say they want what's best for you. The constant critic often wears the cloak of concern, high standards, or even, I'm just trying to help. But behind the continuous criticism lies a toxic pattern that slowly erodes your self-esteem. Poison disguised as care. A one-off criticism made with respect can be useful, but when it becomes a routine, when you feel constantly diminished, something is wrong. The constant critic wants to mold you into the image they have of the ideal. And every failure of yours, however small, reinforces the feeling of control and superiority they seek to maintain. Phrases like, "You never do this right." "I don't know how you haven't learned yet." "You're always so distracted." These are subtle ways of undermining your worth. Over time, you start to doubt yourself. Before making a decision, you ask yourself, what will he or she say? You start living in search of approval and stop listening to your own voice. The roots of critical behavior. Those who constantly criticize usually carry an internal burden of insecurity. They need to feel that they know more, that they do better, that they are above others. Often they grew up in an environment where they were only valued when they were perfect. Now they repeat the pattern. Others use criticism as a form of control. If they make you feel small, it will be easier to keep you submissive or dependent on their opinion. It is a power dynamic, often disguised as concern. The cost of living under criticism. Living with a constant critic can create constant anxiety, block your creativity, lead you to a state of self-sabotage, and make you think you need to earn love or recognition. Even when they are not around, the voice continues inside you. You start to self-criticize, to judge yourself with the same severity. It is as if you had absorbed the critic and become your own internal executioner. How to deal with the constant critic. Recognize the pattern. The first step is to see the situation clearly. Not all criticism is valid. Some are just projections. Do not personalize everything. Remember, what the person says often speaks more about them than about you. Constant criticism is a reflection of their own rigidity and fear. Set clear boundaries. If someone repeats patterns of destructive criticism, set boundaries. You can say, "I prefer that you speak to me with respect. That way of speaking does not help me." Work on your internal validation. Learn to recognize your worth regardless of others' opinions. Your self-esteem cannot be in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to love with kindness. Distance yourself emotionally if necessary. In some cases, distancing is essential. You can't always change the other person, but you can protect yourself. Healing begins when you stop diminishing yourself. The constant critic will always find something you could do better, but you are not here to please an unattainable standard. You are here to be true to yourself. When you value yourself, criticism loses its power. When you recognize your effort, your progress, your intention, you free yourself from the prison of approval. You are not small, you are not weak, you are not insufficient. You are enough exactly as you are, and your voice deserves so much more than just the hollow echoes of judgment. Chapter 6. We are looking at the narcissist who truly believes they are the absolute center of their own universe. There are people who seem to live in a world where only one truth exists, theirs, where what you feel, think, or need is irrelevant, unless it serves to feed their ego. That is the narcissist's universe, a place where everything revolves around them, where the other only has value if they reflect admiration, obedience, or validation. The initial charm and the trap. The narcissist can be charming at first, confident, charismatic, even generous. They know how to seduce with words, with attention, with promises. They seem like someone self-assured, someone magnetic. But over time, the veil falls. You stop being seen as a person and start being a mirror, an accessory, a source of applause, care, or submission. And what if you stop meeting their expectations? Then comes the coldness, the contempt, the emotional manipulation. Because for the narcissist, there is only room for one star on stage, and it is not you. The signs of narcissism. The narcissist is not always easy to identify, but there are clear patterns. Lack of empathy. They cannot or will not put themselves in your shoes. Constant need for attention and admiration. Difficulty accepting criticism, even constructive criticism. Manipulative behavior. They alternate between praise and devaluation to keep you under control. Victimization and blame shifting. If confronted, they turn themselves into the victim. In relationships with narcissists, you always end up feeling like you are the problem because that is their greatest weapon. They make you doubt your own perception. The phases of a relationship with a narcissist. Idealization. You are placed on a pedestal. You are the best, the most special, the one no one else understood. Devaluation. Any flaw of yours, real or invented, serves as justification for criticism, coldness, or humiliation, rejection or manipulation. You are discarded or kept trapped with emotional games, guilt, silence, promises. It's a cycle, and the goal isn't to love you, it's to control you. The impact on you. Living with a narcissist drains your energy and distorts your identity. Little by little, you lose confidence in yourself. You start apologizing for everything. You stay on constant alert, trying not to ruin anything. You feel like you're always trying to prove your worth. Then even giving everything, it's never enough. How to survive and break the cycle. Recognize the pattern without excuses. Stop justifying toxic behaviors with phrases like, "He had a difficult childhood," or "She's just insecure." Understand the impact on you, not their excuses. Set non-negotiable boundaries. Narcissists constantly test your boundaries, therefore be firm. When you say no, stick to it. When you say enough, follow through. Avoid arguing in search of logic. Narcissists distort, confuse, manipulate. Often arguing is futile. The best argument is emotional detachment. Take care of your self-esteem outside the relationship. Surround yourself with people who see you. Remember your worth without needing their reflection. Consider cutting ties. If necessary, in some cases, the only cure is leaving. Not out of weakness, but out of self-love. Freeing yourself is not losing, it is returning to life. Your worth does not depend on applause. The narcissist will always look for someone to feed their ego, but you were not born to be anyone's stage. You were born to live with soul, with truth, with freedom. Do not let the light of an egocentric person dim your shine. You have value on your own, without needing to justify yourself, without needing to please. And if you find that someone only truly values you when you completely erase yourself, then you must realize that person never actually valued you at all. Moving on to Chapter 7, The Chronic Victim. The Art of Guilt. If there is one character difficult to deal with, it is the one who wears the skin of the eternal victim. No matter what happens, they are never responsible. And you always end up feeling guilty. Living or dealing with a person like this is like being trapped in an invisible web. No matter how much you try to help, support, or understand, it is never enough. The victim doesn't want solutions, they want attention. While you are genuinely trying to solve things, they are actively fueling the drama. This is because for this type of person, pain is not something to be healed. Rather, it is a tool for emotional control. If you say you are tired, they will always claim to be even more so. If you tell them about a problem, you'll find that theirs is always worse. And if you're not present all the time, they feel abandoned and wronged. Nobody likes them. The chronic victim has a deep underlying need for attention and validation, but instead of asking for it in a mature way, they use their pain as emotional blackmail. How to identify the chronic victim? Some signs are very clear. They always have a new drama, real or exaggerated. They distort facts to position themselves as the wronged party. They use expressions like, "Nobody understands me, only I go through this, you're against me." They react with hurt and offense when someone suggests self-responsibility to them. They sabotage good moments because deep down they don't know how to live without conflict or complaint. They are someone who lives in a vicious cycle. Pain to blame others for attention, for momentary relief to new pain. And you, if you are not careful, might find yourself entering this cycle as a rescuer, a therapist, or even an emotional punching bag. It is the classic guilt trap. The weapon most used by the chronic victim is guilt. You know deep down that you didn't do anything wrong, but somehow they still make you feel as if you did. They often use manipulative phrases like, "If you really loved me," or "You're never there when I need you." Then they say, "I'm the problem." And even if you have consistently been present, fair, and truly understanding, you are still left with the nagging feeling that you are somehow always falling short. The chronic victim doesn't want you to feel good, because if you're well, happy, and lighthearted, you stop giving them attention. The effect on you. Being in frequent contact with a chronic victim is draining. You become emotionally exhausted. You start avoiding contact, but with guilt. You doubt your decisions, even the simplest ones. You waste energy justifying every step. Deep down, they occupy a space inside you that they shouldn't. How to deal with the chronic victim. Don't let yourself get caught up in the emotional drama. Listen, if you want, but don't try to solve or justify everything. Your mission is not to save anyone. Offer empathy without sacrificing yourself. Say, I understand how you feel, but don't say, I will do everything for you. There is a line between empathy and self-annulment. Bring the responsibility back to them. Ask, what do you think you can do about that? If the person avoids the answer, it's because they don't want a solution, they want control. Use silence wisely. Sometimes, not responding to the drama is the most powerful response. Silence breaks the cycle of attention. Set clear energetic boundaries. Define time, space, and the type of interactions. You are not obligated to be available whenever they want to vent, especially if it's always about the same thing. Not everything that bleeds is a wound. It is important to distinguish. There are those who are truly suffering and those who use suffering as an identity. The chronic victim does not want to heal. They want to remain in the role they know. And the more you get involved, the more they pull you onto that stage. So remember, to empathize is not to submit. To help is not to carry. To love is not to accept blackmail. You can love someone and at the same time refuse to live trapped in their pain. Free yourself from the guilt that does not belong to you. You are not responsible for the wounds that the other person does not want to heal. Chapter 8: The Unstable Person. Emotional roller coasters. Today they are happy, tomorrow they ignore you. One moment they are sweet, the next they explode. You invite them, they accept, and then they cancel. The unstable person lives in an unpredictable emotional cycle, and if you are not careful, they will drag you down with them. When emotion is in command. These people do not act with logic or consistency, they act with emotion. And emotion in their case is like a volcano, sometimes dormant, sometimes erupting. They are people who get offended easily, changing their opinions without explanation. They are affectionate and aggressive on the same day. They say they need you, and the next day they push you away. They don't explain what is actually going on, yet they still demand that you understand it all. It's a real emotional roller coaster, and you never know what to expect next. It's the truly devastating effect of constant inconsistency. Emotional instability comes at a price. It creates constant insecurity in those around them. It makes you doubt yourself even when you haven't done anything wrong. It turns love, friendship, or partnership into an exhausting emotional game. It constantly leads you to walk on eggshells, always for fear of saying the wrong thing. Even worse, when you finally try to confront the instability, the answer you get is almost always the same. You're just overreacting. It's you who is different. This is just how I am. Take it or leave it. In other words, the problem is always yours. But why so much instability? Behind someone who is emotionally unstable, there is often deep-seated, unresolved trauma, a persistent difficulty in recognizing one's own emotions, and emotional addictions like a craving for drama, attention, or chaos. There is also a profound fear of rejection, often disguised as coldness or aggression. In other words, they are wounded people who simply don't know how to heal, and therefore they continue to repeat these painful patterns. But be careful, pain may explain things, but it doesn't justify everything. You can certainly understand someone's struggles without accepting being destroyed by them. Let's take a moment to look at the real effects on you. Living with someone who is emotionally unstable often means living with silent anxiety, a constant nagging fear of doing something wrong, the persistent feeling that you always have to prove your worth, and deep emotional exhaustion from never knowing what to expect. And little by little, you stop being yourself to try to fit into an environment that is never safe. How to deal with an unstable person? Do not adapt to the chaos. Do not change who you are to try to please the other person's instability. That only wears you down and helps no one. Ask for clarity. What do you really want? It is a simple but powerful question. If the answer is vague, avoid emotional commitment. Observe the patterns, not the words. Someone might say they love you, but if they treat you with coldness or manipulation, the truth lies in their actions. Create routines that depend on you, not on the other person. This way, you protect your internal stability even when the external environment is volatile. Establish firm emotional boundaries. I really like you, but I simply cannot accept this type of behavior. Keep your response simple, clear, and firm, and do it without any drama. If you need to, walk away. Remember, love is not synonymous with unconditional endurance. Sometimes distance is the only space where respect can be born. You are not anyone's emotional regulator. It is not your job to balance what the other person refuses to look at. You are not a therapist, nor an emotional regulator, nor a savior. Your peace cannot be at the mercy of someone who changes direction like the wind. Always remember, emotional consistency is a sign of true maturity, and maturity is the absolute minimum requirement in any healthy relationship. If someone doesn't know how to be stable with you, you have the right to be stable without that person. Number 3, focusing on protection and communication strategies. Chapter 9, how to create clear and unshakable boundaries. You set boundaries and they don't respect them. You say no, they ignore it. You stay silent and they intrude on you. There comes a moment when you realize no one is going to protect your peace for you. Either you learn to create clear boundaries or you will always live hostage to the will of others. What are boundaries after all? Boundaries are not rigid walls, they are not angry shouts, and they are not threats. Boundaries are simply clear declarations of respect. They are lines that define where you end and the other begins. They are decisions that tell the world, in here, my energy is taken care of. I will not abandon myself just to please others. I do not allow abuse, even when disguised as love. Those who respect you understand your boundaries. Those who want to control you call them selfishness. Why is it so difficult to set boundaries? Fear of displeasing others, guilt for seeming harsh or cold, doubt about one's own worth. A history of relationships where there was no room to say no. But here is the raw, honest truth. If you do not set clear boundaries for yourself, the world will inevitably test exactly how far it can go. And there are people who only stop where you stop them. Examples of healthy boundaries. I'm not talking about that subject. I need time for myself. I'm not going to reply to that message right now. That tone of voice is unacceptable to me. I won't continue this conversation if you disrespect me. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Do you see? It's not about attacking. It's about asserting yourself firmly, but with serenity. How to build solid boundaries. Start with yourself. Before communicating it to others, define for yourself what is acceptable and what is not. Example, what kind of comment will you no longer tolerate? What kind of behavior hurts you? Be direct, not aggressive. Avoid giving long, drawn-out justifications. A simple no really doesn't need an argument. A straightforward, I don't want to, or it's not good for me, is more than enough. Stay firm after your first reaction. People test. If you waver at the first confrontation, they will continue to invade. Stand firm. Don't give in to guilt or emotional blackmail. Don't over-explain. Excessive explanations often weaken your position. Those who want to manipulate you will surely use your own arguments against you. You must accept that not everyone will like it. Setting boundaries may distance some people, but believe me, it only distances those who were taking advantage of you all along. Repeat as many times as necessary. Boundaries are taught with consistency. A no said 10 times with serenity is worth more than a yes given out of exhaustion. Remember, you are not being a bad person, you are being an adult. You are finally taking full responsibility for your own energy. You are clearly saying enough. And the world truly needs more people like that. People who are consistent, firm, and at peace with themselves. Chapter 10. The Power of Assertive Communication. Saying no without guilt. How many times have you said yes when your heart was screaming no? How many times have you given in just to keep the peace and ended up at war with yourself? Assertive communication is the key to breaking this cycle. It is the balance point between the silence that represses you and the scream that pushes others away. What does it mean to be assertive? Being assertive is not being aggressive. It is not speaking loudly. It is not winning arguments. Being assertive is communicating your truth with clarity, respect, and firmness, even if the other person doesn't like it, even if your heart is racing. It is that moment when you say, "This is who I am." It is expressing what I feel and what I truly need. You do this without any guilt, without any fear, and without making excuses. These are the traps of non-assertiveness. Many people confuse assertiveness with selfishness. Others believe that to maintain relationships, they must erase themselves. But the truth is this: those who do not express themselves accumulate resentment. Those who stay silent too much will one day explode. Those who say yes to everything lose themselves. Speaking with truth does not destroy relationships, it simply makes them transparent. Signs that you need to develop assertiveness. You have difficulty saying no. You regret accepting requests afterwards. You feel that others walk all over you. You hold on to hurts you never spoke about. You need to justify yourself constantly. You avoid conflicts at any cost. If you see yourself in any of these points, assertiveness will be a liberation. How to communicate with assertiveness. Use the first person. I feel, I think, I prefer. This way you take responsibility for your emotions without attacking. Be clear and direct. Avoid beating around the bush or ambiguous phrases. Example, instead of "maybe I can," say, "It's not possible for me today." Keep a calm tone. Your firmness doesn't need to be harsh. A calm voice plus direct eye contact equals natural authority. Say no with confidence. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify it. You can say, "I appreciate it, but I won't be able to. I don't feel comfortable with that. It's not possible at the moment." Accept the other person's discomfort. The other person might get irritated, sad, frustrated, and that is okay. You are not responsible for others' feelings, only for your own truth. Practice in small situations. Start by saying no to simple things: a favor, an invitation, an opinion. This helps to strengthen your assertiveness muscle, preparing you for those much more challenging moments. Example of assertive communication. Situation: a friend insists you go to an event you don't feel like attending. Passive communication: "Oh, maybe. I'll see how I feel about it," and then you can just go ahead and make up some kind of excuse. Aggressive communication: stop insisting. "I already said no, don't bother me." Assertive communication: "I appreciate the invitation, but I need to rest this weekend. Maybe another time." Simple, clear, and entirely guilt-free. That is the transformation. When you finally start being assertive, your self-esteem naturally grows, your energy levels stabilize, your personal boundaries become respected, and your relationships become much more authentic. And yes, it is true, some people will drift away from your life, but only those who were previously feeding off your lack of boundaries. And do you know what comes after that? Your peace. Chapter 11. The Art of Not Reacting. Being calm without being passive. In a world where everything seems to demand an immediate reaction, true strength lies in choosing not to react. Not because you are weak, but because you are free. Reacting is automatic, responding is conscious. When someone attacks, criticizes, manipulates, or provokes us, the tendency is to react on impulse, to defend, to shout, to attack back, to justify, to run away. But that reaction gives power to the other person. It's like saying, "You control how I feel, and I hand you the keys to my peace." Learning not to react is not being passive, it is being master of yourself. What does it mean then, not to react? It is pausing before responding. It is realizing what you are feeling without acting in the heat of the emotion. It is observing, breathing, and responding with awareness. It is choosing whether it is worth entering that argument or maintaining your peace. Notice that choosing not to react is a powerful way to say a lot without saying anything at all. It is truly communicating your inner strength through your calm. So, when is not reacting the best response? When someone wants to provoke an argument, when you are emotionally shaken, when you realize that any response will be used against you, when the conversation no longer has room for the truth, when the other person is unloading frustrations that aren't yours. Strategies to cultivate this art. Breathe before speaking. Breathing is the switch between impulse and awareness. Take a deep breath. Feel your body. Only then respond, or don't. Use silence as a shield. Not everything deserves a response. Silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words. Repeat mentally, "This is not mine." If someone offends you, manipulates you, or unloads on you, visualize the words passing through you like the wind. Affirm your inner choice. Say mentally, "I choose to keep my peace. I will not be dragged into this energy. I am free not to react." Leave the scene if necessary. You can simply say, "I don't want to talk about this right now. I'm going to step out to breathe. We can resume this conversation later." Practice emotional detachment. Not everything is personal. Often what the other person says speaks more about them than about you. The difference between passivity and wisdom. Passivity is swallowing everything. It's staying silent and accumulating pain. Wisdom is choosing not to respond because you don't need to. Notice, the passive person stays silent out of fear. The wise person stays silent out of strength, and that strength is impressive because it is rare. The results of conscious non-reaction: less stress, fewer arguments, more emotional mastery, more clarity in relationships. A firm presence that asserts itself without raising its voice. Your calm is not a sign of weakness, it is a form of protection. It is true emotional intelligence, and it is your own inner freedom. When you learn not to react, you discover a profound new power, the ability to maintain your inner peace even when everything happening around you tries to take it away. Chapter 12. Detecting and neutralizing manipulations. The attack is not always direct. The poison doesn't always come with shouting. Often, true emotional violence comes disguised as affection, concern, or logic. And that is where manipulation comes in, one of the most difficult behaviors to identify and the most important to neutralize. What exactly is manipulation? It is essentially trying to control someone's behavior, choices, or emotions without using any physical force, but rather through guilt, fear, confusion, or even charm. The manipulator wants one thing above all else: total power over you. And for that, they use words, gestures, silences, or attitudes that leave you feeling deeply insecure, confused, guilty, or dependent. And the more you react to them, the more they are able to mold your feelings. One of the most common signs of manipulation is when they make you feel guilty for simply saying no. After everything I've done for you, if you were a good person, you would accept. They change the facts of the story. They say they didn't say what they said, reversing the roles of victim and aggressor. They create emotional confusion. One day they are sweet, the next they are cold. They make you doubt what you feel or perceive. They use emotional blackmail. If you leave me, it's your fault if I suffer. If you love me, you'll prove it by doing what I want. They subtly isolate you. They criticize your friends or family. They create emotional dependency, making you feel like only they understand you. They twist words and intentions. You set a boundary and they say you're being aggressive or you're making up problems. Why do we fall for manipulation? Because often we don't believe in ourselves. Because we were taught that being good means pleasing others. Because we are afraid of losing the relationship, or because the manipulation comes from someone we love. But the truth is simple. Those who love you do not manipulate you. Those who respect you do not confuse you. How to neutralize manipulation? Recognize the pattern without blaming yourself. You are not weak for having been manipulated. You are human, and now you are waking up. Stay calm and firm. The manipulator feeds on your reaction. If you stay calm, assertive, and predictable, they lose control. Ask questions that dismantle the game. What are you trying to say with that? Could you please explain a little better exactly what it is that you are hoping to achieve with that? Why are you bringing this up now? Avoid over-justifying yourself. The more you justify yourself, the more they entangle you. Say what is necessary and repeat if needed. No drama. Define and reinforce your boundaries. I'm not going to talk about this right now. That way of speaking is not acceptable to me. My decision has been made. You really need to trust your own perception. If something in your life makes you feel bad, confused, or small, please take a moment to respect that sign. Your soul doesn't lie. And what if it doesn't work? If the manipulation continues despite all your best efforts and attempts, it is finally time to make a difficult choice. Prioritize your own inner peace or accept the other person's control. True freedom begins only when you are no longer controlled by lingering guilt, deep-seated fear, or the critical opinions of those who seek to manipulate you. Manipulation only works on those who doubt themselves. Now that you are finally reclaiming your personal power, manipulation will no longer have anywhere to hide. Fourth, it is time to strengthen your energy and your self-esteem. Chapter 13. How to protect your energy in toxic environments. Remember, you are not just a physical body. You are, in essence, pure energy. And every day you are exchanging energy with people, places, conversations, and thoughts. In toxic environments, this becomes a brutal challenge because what is around you tries to get inside you. What happens in a toxic environment? You feel more tired than you should. You get tense without knowing why. You start the day well and within minutes you are anxious or sad. Why? Because you absorb energy like a sponge, especially if you are empathetic, sensitive, or spiritual. Your light attracts, but it also captures shadows. Toxic environments are not just negative places, they are spaces with people who complain constantly. Shouting, accusations, or just a very dense energy. Gossip, power games, inflated egos, heavy silences, and unresolved tensions. A lack of authenticity or constant manipulation. The danger of this energetic contamination is like thick smoke filling up a room. You don't need to see it for it to suffocate you. When you spend too much time in an environment like this, you start to doubt yourself. You lose focus and creativity. You feel guilty for having boundaries. You become emotionally drained, and if you don't protect yourself, you start behaving like them. 7 ways to protect your energy. Create an intentional energy shield for yourself. Imagine a protective bubble of soft light surrounding you. Before you step into heavy or draining environments, take a moment to visualize it. Say mentally, "Nothing that is not love enters my field." Breathe with awareness. In moments of tension, breathe slowly and deeply. You gently bring yourself back to your own center so you don't get lost in the storms of others. Take a moment to affirm your energy with grounded power. Use internal phrases like, "This energy is not mine. I choose peace. I keep my field clean and bright." Avoid absorbing what does not belong to you. Remember, feeling empathy does not require you to carry pain. You can feel without taking it with you. Cleanse your field every day. Coarse salt baths. Light some fragrant incense or cleansing herbs to clear the space. You can also slowly run your hands along your body from head to toe as if you were carefully cleaning and shaking off any lingering, less positive energies. Breathe deeply and consciously, and as you slowly exhale, release everything that is not yours, letting go of all the tension you have been holding. Also, use cool, refreshing water to gently wash and purify different parts of your body, feeling the cleansing sensation. And if you have the opportunity, place your bare feet directly on the ground, feel the earth beneath you, and simply let it all go. If you are in a heavy environment, go to the bathroom and breathe. Just step out for 2 minutes. Close your eyes. Come back to yourself. 1 minute of presence can prevent hours of exhaustion. Take care of those around you outside of there. Outside of toxic environments, surround yourself with those who nourish you. Friendships, nature, music, and silence. Protect your sacred inner temple and protect your energy. And if it is truly inevitable to be there, you cannot always run away, but you can always choose not to blend in. Your personal vibration can be much stronger than the environment around you. When you remain truly centered, calm, and present, the world around you may be in total chaos, but you will be the eye of the hurricane, remaining completely untouchable on the inside. Remember, your energy is gold. Do not ever spend your precious energy where you are not truly respected or valued. Do not let it be contaminated by the negativity of those who still choose to live in darkness. Protect it carefully, just like someone protecting a fragile flame in the middle of a howling wind, because that flickering flame is your very soul. Chapter 14. Exploring effective emotional release techniques. Every day you accumulate emotions. Some are yours, others not so much, and if you don't release them, they turn into tension, anxiety, and weight. It's like leaving trash inside your house. One day it accumulates so much that you can't even breathe well anymore. That is why releasing your emotions every single day is not just a luxury. It is essential energetic hygiene. It is emotional survival, because you really need to let it out. Your mind might forget certain situations, but your body keeps everything. A look that hurt you, a harsh word, an anger you swallowed, a fear you stifled, or an anguish you silenced. All of these remain within you. All of that continues to vibrate inside you, and if it doesn't find a way out, it becomes a blockage. Some common symptoms of emotional accumulation include feeling tired for no apparent reason, constant irritation, struggling with insomnia or restless sleep, and a lack of patience with those you love. You might find yourself crying easily or wanting to scream, feeling overwhelmed or disconnected. Remember, releasing these emotions is not collapsing. It is simply allowing your energy to circulate freely once again. It is giving your emotional field the same care you give your body. 6 simple techniques for daily release. 1. Write down everything that weighs on you without filters. Take a notebook and write down everything that's inside without trying to write beautifully, without thinking. Vomit onto the page. At the end, tear it up or burn it. The paper absorbs, you release. 2. 4-4-8 release breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 8 counts. On the exhale, visualize the tension leaving through your pores. Repeat for 5 to 10 minutes. The body calms down, the mind clears, the emotion flows. 3. Scream into a pillow or in the car alone. Scream what got stuck in your throat. Swear words included, really scream. Better a scream in a safe place than the silence that makes you sick. 4. Intentional crying, done completely without any shame. Crying truly cleanses, it heals, and it sets you free. Sit down, breathe, put on some sad music, and let it come. Tears are sacred water. Let them wash your soul. 5. Conscious movement. The body as a channel. Dance, run, jump. Move as if you were sweeping away energy. It's not about looking good, it's about letting it out. The body is your greatest ally in emotional release. 6. Coarse salt or pink salt bath. Dissolve salt in your bath water or scrub gently in the shower. Visualize the water taking away everything that no longer serves you. The body cleanses, the soul is grateful. Here's a powerful tip. Try to create a consistent end-of-day ritual every single day at the same time. Just 10 minutes set aside for you. Low light, soft music, a tea or a glass of water, one of these techniques. Do this for 21 days. You will start to feel significantly lighter, much more present, and truly whole. And if you find that you don't have much time, just take one single conscious breath, or write down 3 random sentences to vent, or simply let out a deep sigh with real intention. It doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be real. Always remember this, a clean, open channel allows the light to shine through, and you are that channel. Keep your emotional field clear and unburdened, and you will soon see how everything in your life begins to flow with so much more clarity, more lightness, and more profound truth. Chapter 15. The journey of rebuilding your self-esteem after navigating difficult relationships. After living through a relationship with a difficult person, there is something inside you that gets broken. Sometimes the impact is quite subtle, and at other times it runs much deeper, but almost always your self-esteem suffers as a result. You start to doubt yourself. Your inner voice becomes more critical. You are afraid of making mistakes, of not being enough, of not being loved. And you ask, how did I let this happen? This chapter is to remind you that you are not weak, you are not naive. You were hurt because you have a heart. And now, with that same heart, you will rise again stronger, more conscious, more whole. What do difficult relationships do to your self-esteem? They erode it little by little, and eventually they make you question your own perception of reality. They make you feel guilty for things you couldn't control. They make you feel small, invisible, disposable. They make you think that you are the problem. And the more you try to prove that you deserve love, the more you lose yourself. But here is the raw truth. You weren't weak, you weren't stupid, you weren't not enough. You were someone with a desire to love. You were someone who believed. You were someone who deserved reciprocity and didn't get it. And that does not diminish you. Reconstruction begins with these truths. It was not your fault that you were hurt. The pain you experienced is not a reflection of your worth. The other person's behavior speaks about them, not about you. The manipulator manipulates because they need control. The narcissist humiliates because they need to feel superior. You have the right to start over without carrying other people's guilt. Here are 5 essential steps to help you rebuild your self-esteem. Step 1. It is time to start listening to your own inner voice again, instead of focusing on the opinions of others. After so much time being invalidated, it's normal to be afraid of your own intuition. So, let's start small, but what do I really think about this? What do I feel without interference? Your opinion matters. Learn to listen to it again. 2. Make a list of your qualities and read it every day. Does it seem basic? It is powerful. Your brain needs repetition to reprogram beliefs. Write down 10 of your qualities. Yes, yours, and read them out loud every day. You are sowing a new truth within yourself. 3. Forgive yourself for having forgotten about yourself. Yes, forgive yourself for having accepted crumbs, for having tolerated the intolerable, for having stayed silent so many times. You did the very best you knew how, with exactly what you had at the moment you were in. Now you know so much more, and you will certainly act differently. 4. Say no as a powerful act of self-love. With every no you say to what hurts you, you are saying yes to yourself. It is simple, it is powerful, it is liberating. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away, it is about drawing closer to yourself. Number 5, try to create small, meaningful victories for yourself every day. Self-esteem does not return all at once. It grows with small, consistent steps. A commitment you kept to yourself, a task you finally completed, a compliment you accepted without shrinking away, or a decision you made without asking for validation. Each small victory is like a brick, and slowly you are rebuilding your inner home piece by piece until you feel whole again. A phrase to stick on the mirror: I no longer abandon myself to be accepted. I truly deserve love, including my own. Please remember this important truth: your self-esteem was not destroyed, it was simply forgotten. It is waiting for you, but it is there, alive, waiting for you to give it space again. And you are doing that right now. Chapter 16. The profound power of silence and maintaining emotional distance. We live in a society where we are constantly encouraged to speak up, justify our actions, react, and always be available. But true power often lies in the opposite, knowing how to be silent, when to step away, and how to preserve your own inner peace. When we deal with difficult people, this power is not just an option, it is an absolute necessity. These are the individuals who criticize without ever building, who manipulate others in total silence, who consistently devalue your genuine feelings, and who impose their own will even if it slowly wears you down. They are the ones who live trapped in deeply toxic patterns and project that negativity onto everyone around them. And the truth is that at some point in life, we will all inevitably have to deal with them. It truly does not matter if you are a calm, empathetic, spiritual, or rational person. Sooner or later, you will be tested. The big secret is not in trying to avoid them, because that is most of the time simply not possible. The real secret lies in knowing how to handle them. Silence is often misunderstood. For many people, it is unfortunately seen as a sign of passivity. But conscious silence is an active choice. It is choosing not to respond to provocation. It is refusing to play the manipulation game. It is not giving the stage to drama. Imagine this: someone throws an unfair criticism at you. Your very first reaction is often to justify yourself, to defend yourself, or to try and prove the opposite. But what if instead of doing that, you simply take a deep breath and choose to stay silent? That silence sends a truly powerful message: I will not lose myself in this moment. I have control over my energy. My peace is more important than being right. Creating emotional space. The invisible shield. Emotional distance is not letting the other person's instability affect you. It is not absorbing the chaos that isn't yours. Examples: a colleague who is always complaining. Instead of constantly trying to change their difficult discourse, you simply put on your headphones and focus entirely on your own work. Consider a family member who frequently makes passive-aggressive comments. Instead of getting drawn into a heated argument, you calmly change the subject or physically distance yourself. Then there is that ex-partner who always shows up at the worst times, just to destabilize you. Instead of responding immediately, you should take a deep, calming breath and just let it all go. This type of emotional distance doesn't need to be visible to others, but you know it's there, and it truly protects your peace. So, how can you effectively practice silence and maintain this healthy distance in your daily life? Breathe before responding. Give yourself 5 seconds. Often, that time is enough for you to change your reaction. Practice neutral responses or not responding at all. Not everything needs a response. Use phrases like, I understand your opinion. Let's leave that for later, or simply nothing. Temporarily distance yourself from toxic environments or people. Your well-being is worth more than your social obligation. Create space. Observe without getting involved. Remember, you can watch the storm without entering it. Silence also heals. Often, by quieting ourselves on the outside, we hear more on the inside. In the absence of external noise, we listen to what we truly feel. We realize what we need. We recognize what we have tolerated for too long. It is in that space that we gain strength. It is in that pause that our intuition guides us again. And it is from there that we make decisions more aligned with who we are. Final reflection. Silence is not the absence of an answer. It is the loudest answer the soul can give. Your inner peace is truly worth far more than any draining, ill-intentioned conversation. Your mental sanity is worth so much more than maintaining a forced or toxic bond. And if someone ever calls you cold for simply staying silent or choosing to walk away, just remember this. Cold is actually someone who ignores their own personal boundaries just to please others. Today, choose yourself first, and if it becomes necessary, make silence your most powerful and effective language. Number 5. You must learn to become truly unshakable. Chapter 17. Developing your inner peace as a life priority. You see, inner peace is not something you simply find by chance. Instead, it is a deliberate decision, a daily construction, and a truly conscious priority that you must nurture. In a world where everything and everyone constantly demands something from you, your attention, your response, your presence, and your energy, having inner peace may seem like a rare luxury, but in reality, it is a fundamental matter of emotional survival. Without that inner peace, you simply live in a state of constant reaction. Your mind never rests. Too often, others hold power over your internal state. With true inner peace, you are finally able to live in the present. You choose instead of reacting. You are the one who commands your energy. Your peace is non-negotiable, and it's time to treat it as your greatest asset. What is inner peace, after all? Inner peace is not the absence of problems. It is your ability to remain centered even in the midst of them. It is that state where you are okay with yourself, even if others do not approve of you. You know how to pause before reacting. You feel lightness even on difficult days. Inner peace is when you stop looking outside for what you can only find within. Why do so many people lose their peace? Because they live from the outside in. They value the approval of others more than their own truth. They say yes when their body screams no. They tolerate abuse to avoid conflict. They give everything to everyone and forget about themselves. Peace disappears when you leave your center to please the world. The silent thieves of your peace. These are some of the biggest daily peace killers that we often overlook. Excessive exposure to social media, constant comparisons, overwhelming noise, absorbing other people's energy, and a lack of clear, healthy boundaries. Saying yes when you wanted to say no. Toxic or empty conversations. Dialogues that drain you without adding anything. Constant self-criticism. Your mind sabotaging your tranquility. Routines without breaks. You're living your days on autopilot, without any time to breathe. Identifying these time thieves is the first step. The second step is simply closing the door on them. How to start cultivating inner peace in a practical way. Define peace as a priority. Write at the beginning of your planner or on the mirror, "Today, my peace comes first." Create mini moments of silence each day, even if it's just 5 minutes of absolute silence. No music, no voice, no notifications. Just you with yourself. Practice gratitude daily. Gratitude calms the mind and redirects focus to what is good. Distance yourself from emotional noise. Some people live in turbulence. Respect them, but don't go along with them. Take care of your physical space. A clean, harmonious, and beautiful environment helps your energy flow better. Treat your rest as something sacred. Sleeping well, breathing deeply, and stopping every now and then is a vital form of emotional self-care. Peace is also firmness. Having peace is not about being passive. It's about being firm without shouting. It's saying no with a smile. It's removing yourself from a situation without drama. It's truly knowing that your inner calm bothers those who thrive on conflict and yet choosing not to give in. People at peace are feared by those who thrive on chaos because they don't let themselves be manipulated, because they don't react to everything, because they don't need to prove anything. You truly can be that person. When peace becomes your inner compass, your entire life begins to change. Imagine living each day with this simple question as your guide. Does this choice really contribute to my peace? If the honest answer is no, then perhaps that path is simply not for you. Relationships, decisions, habits, and even your environments. Everything should be measured by that one important yardstick. Not because you are afraid of living, but because you value your sanity above the noise. Final reflection. Your inner peace is absolutely not an act of selfishness. Rather, it is a vital foundation. It is essential health, and it is true wisdom. When you consciously make your own peace a top priority in your daily life, you are powerfully telling the universe, I am finally ready to live with deep awareness, with absolute truth, and with complete radiant fullness. And that simple shift truly changes everything. Now let us move forward to chapter 18. How to attract healthier, more conscious, and more fulfilling relationships. Attracting healthy relationships is not luck. It is a direct consequence of who you become. If you keep attracting people who hurt, devalue, or drain you, it doesn't mean you are condemned to live in that cycle forever. Instead, it is a clear invitation to begin your inner transformation. Healthy relationships start within you, and as you continue to heal, you will find that your vibration naturally changes. And that change pushes away what is toxic and attracts what is true. Why do you keep on attracting the same type of person? The answer lies in patterns, and these patterns are often born directly from your personal history, your self-esteem, and what you choose to tolerate. Some of the most common causes include a deep fear of being alone, a constant need for approval, unconscious beliefs that you don't deserve more, unresolved trauma, or excessive empathy without any healthy boundaries. Until you heal this, you will repeat connections that reflect these wounds. Conscious relationships. What are they exactly? They are relationships where there is open and honest communication, true emotional presence, not just physical, mutual respect, even when in disagreement, and plenty of space to grow together and individually. It is all about reciprocity and certainly not sacrifice. Conscious relationships are not perfect, but they are lived with truth, maturity, and intention. The cycle of healing and attraction. Do you recognize the pattern? This has happened to me before. Why? You take responsibility. I chose this, consciously or unconsciously. You heal the root. You realize the origin of the pain and transform the way you see yourself. You adjust your boundaries and energy. You start saying no faster. You start saying yes only to what resonates with you. Your choices change, and so do your relationships. Now you attract based on who you are, not on your neediness. Practical tips to start right now. Do a relational cleanse. Who brings you closer to yourself? Who takes you away from your peace? Consciously choose who you share your energy with. Say what you think. Right from the very start, please don't ever hide your truth just to be accepted by others. Whoever truly loves you for who you are will always respect your authenticity. Define what you will no longer accept. Make a list of attitudes, behaviors, and patterns that you have decided to cut from your life. Take care of yourself the way you would like to be taken care of. The love you give yourself defines the type of love you accept from others. Imagine the relationship you deserve. Write down how you want to be treated, read, looked at, and felt. This exercise changes your frequency. Your vibration chooses for you. You don't need to chase anyone. When you are aligned with your truth, you become magnetic. People who live for drama will disappear from your life naturally. People with truth will emerge naturally. You attract what you are, not what you want. You are the one who sets the standard. Do you want more conscious relationships? Become more conscious. Do you want to be respected? Start by not disrespecting yourself. Meaningful, healthy relationships are not simply requested. They are created through your vibration, your daily choices, and your personal boundaries. And remember, no relationship is worth more than your peace. Chapter 19. When cutting ties is truly the greatest act of self-love. There are some goodbyes that might seem harsh, but in truth they are necessary, beautiful births. Cutting ties with someone is never a sign of weakness. In fact, it is often the greatest act of inner strength you can show. You are not doing this because you have stopped loving them, but because you have finally started loving yourself. When staying is no longer an act of love, it is time to let go. You were taught to endure, to always forgive, to give one more chance, to wait for the other person to change. But there is an invisible line between empathy and self-abandonment. Staying when everything in you screams for freedom is a betrayal of your soul. No one owes you love, but you owe yourself peace. And why is it so hard to cut ties? It's the fear of being alone, the heavy guilt for giving up, the illusion that one day it will change, and finally, a deep emotional addiction. The connection has become chemical. Hope mixed with pain, but staying in a relationship that destroys you little by little is not loyalty. It is a denial of your own dignity. Cutting ties is not hate. Cutting ties is not revenge. It is not coldness. It is not a lack of forgiveness. Cutting ties is recognizing that the energy between you has become toxic, unbalanced, unfair, and that you have the right to protect your heart. You can continue to wish them well, but from a distance. What do you gain when you distance yourself? Mental clarity, space to rediscover yourself, renewed energy, a new vibrational pattern, the ability to say enough in other areas of life. Cutting a toxic tie is truly like closing up an old painful wound. It hurts at first, but eventually it heals. And when it heals, something is reborn. How do you know it's time to cut ties? You've already tried communicating and nothing changes. You've felt constantly diminished, blamed, or erased. Your intuition already knows, but fear still holds you back. The time after being with that person is always worse than before. When being with someone makes you feel less than you are, that is a clear sign that your path is already calling you in another direction. Release ritual. You should write a farewell letter, even if you never actually deliver it. Say everything with truth, with pain, with love. At the end, write, I release you and I release myself. Go in peace. I am going too. Take a deep breath, tear up or burn that letter with intention. Visualize yourself stepping out of a circle, closing a door, holding your head high. In the following days, honor your decision. Silence is also self-care. To love is also to say goodbye. Loving is not holding on, it is allowing. It is recognizing when there is no more exchange, no more light, no more growth. And the greatest act of love sometimes is to leave. It is showing yourself that you deserve more, that you do not accept less, that you are the guardian of your peace. Loving someone does not oblige you to accept everything. True love begins when you decide that your soul also deserves respect. You were not made to survive relationships. You were truly made to flourish and thrive within them. And sometimes, the only way to truly flourish is to have the courage to cut the deep root that no longer feeds your soul. Chapter 20th. The new version of you. Strong, serene, and free. After the storm, a new silence is born. But it is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of someone who has found themselves again. The version of you that emerges after going through chaos is stronger, lighter, more awake. You no longer get lost in just any gaze. You no longer bend out of fear of displeasing others. She knows who she is, and that is enough. You are not the same person. After dealing with difficult people, learning to set boundaries, healing wounds, and choosing yourself, something changes. Something inside you matures. Now you know how to say no without guilt. You know how to listen to your intuition. You know what is good for you and what you no longer tolerate. You choose with more calm, more discernment, more self-love. It is not really about arrogance, it is about true awareness. What you have built within yourself throughout this entire journey, you have created invisible yet incredibly deep foundations. It is all about self-knowledge. Now you know who you are without the masks. Healthy boundaries. You know how far you can go and how far you allow others to go. Emotional resilience. You no longer break with every gust of wind. Presence. You are becoming more present in the here and now, feeling much more whole. You have a solid self-esteem, not based on external validation, but on your own inner truth. This is what true freedom is. Your energy has changed, have you noticed? People feel you are different. Some drift away because you can no longer be manipulated. Others draw closer because your vibration calls to those who have also chosen to grow. When you become light, you illuminate and repel at the same time, and that is perfectly fine. What comes next? Now comes a new stage. Not one of fighting to survive relationships, but one of creating conscious, nourishing, true connections. Now the focus is you, your peace, your path, your truth. You don't need to prove anything anymore, just live with soul, a new compass. Ask yourself every day, does what I am choosing nourish or drain? Does this person expand or constrict my energy? Am I acting based on love or fear? Am I being true to myself? Take a look at this brand new compass and you can trust that it absolutely never fails you. The version of you that survived is not fragile, it is sacred. It was forged in the fires of pain, in courage, in silence, and in a profound awakening. Now you are truly strong, yet you have managed to do so without losing your tenderness. You are serene, but not passive. You are finally free, because now you are whole, and no one else can steal that from you. Conclusion. Your inner peace is truly your greatest asset. After everything you have lived through, after all the deep wounds, the hard lessons, the difficult choices, and the long silences, there is something that finally emerges as sacred, your peace. It is not the artificial peace that depends on pleasing everyone. It is not the peace of avoiding conflict while you erase yourself, but the true peace, the one that comes from within, that is born when you live in total coherence with who you are. Peace is strength, not an escape. Many people often confuse true peace with weakness, but in truth, your inner peace is actually the direct result of your emotional maturity. Peace is knowing that you don't need to respond to everything, choosing your energy instead of getting involved in drama, protecting your space without guilt, staying silent where you used to shout, and walking away when the environment no longer honors you. Your peace is the most powerful shield you have, and it is also your compass. Peace requires choices. To live with peace, you will have to continue making difficult choices, saying no to those who only look for you when they need something, closing doors that no longer lead anywhere, detaching from those you like but who don't know how to take care of you, choosing yourself even when they call you selfish, because your peace is non-negotiable. Peace transforms everything. When you truly live with inner peace, your body finally rests, your mind gently calms down, your relationships begin to flourish, your creativity awakens, and your soul smiles. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. You just need to be at peace with who you are, with your own unique rhythm, and with all of your choices. The final message: everything you sought in others, validation, respect, love, security, you now begin to find within yourself. And that discovery changes everything. The world outside may remain chaotic, but your world inside, that can be sacred, serene, and secure. This entire journey wasn't just about learning how to deal with difficult people in your life. It was really about learning to live with yourself in a much lighter and more truthful way. Because in the end, your own inner peace is truly your greatest treasure.